2. Hey everybody, this is Ryan Deal with 605 Sports, and we are joined by Jacob Wuertz with 605 Sports and Heath Nimke with Live Ticket TV. How you doing, guys?
Doing great. Excited about the postseason right here. And of course, so I should say postseason for 9-man 11B, and then, single A, double A, triple A coming up here in a few weeks. So pretty pumped, pretty excited.
Absolutely. Jacob, you?
I'm doing good. Playoff time's always fun. The weather's getting chilly, but you know what that means. High school football playoffs.
Absolutely. It's been a fun season up to this point, and it's only going to get a lot better here on out, starting today with the high school playoffs for 11B, 9AA, 9A, and 9B. We'll go over the 4 classes that I just mentioned. Then later on, we'll kind of talk about the bigger classes as they gear up for their final regular season games, and then they'll gear up for the playoffs, obviously. So we'll talk 9B to start with. Guys, I guess in 9B, kind of feels like 2 teams are kind of separated themselves from the pack with Harriet Selby area, Hitchcock Tulare. I've seen both those teams play this year, and I just think we're on a collision course, or those 2 teams are on a collision course for the Dakota Dome. Jacob, Heath, what do you guys see in 9B? What really stands out to you guys?
Yeah, I really agree with you, kind of what you're going off of. It seems like those 2 are just putting themselves out there so far ahead. I mean, it's been a great regular season that they both have had. But just looking beyond 1 and 2, and it seems like that collision course that they're on, I really think it's going to be interesting for one team more than the other. I feel like when you look at the bracket when it comes to 9B, Hitchcock Tulare has, I think, maybe a little bit of an easier road if everything plays in their favor to get to the Dome over what Harriet Selby area has. I kind of look at just that first round matchup between Avon, Faulkton area. I think that's going to be a really great, intriguing matchup. And then for those 2 teams, whoever does win that, again, I'm putting, of course, Harriet Selby area automatically into the quarterfinals. Then after that, I really think it's going to be a dogfight. It could be a 1 touchdown game between either Avon and Harriet Selby area or Faulkton area. And then you just got to watch that 5 as well. Corsica Stickney, of course, they've been a powerhouse for the past few years. They've gotten close at different opportunities over the past few years. So I'm really intrigued. I think it's going to be interesting how that kind of top half of 9B breaks down.
Absolutely. Jacob, what are you looking for in 9B?
When we started the season, I think there were about 4 teams that were on everybody's radar: Harriet Selby, Avon, and Del Rapids St. Mary were on a lot of people's radars. St. Mary's was the defending champs coming into the year, and then Hitchcock Tulare was kind of that 4th team at the time I think people were looking at. And like you said, Harriet Selby and Hitchcock Tulare kind of separated themselves a little bit. Avon and St. Mary's, they kind of dealt with some injuries, so their seasons just kind of got a damper put on them a little bit. And their records don't look as good, but you got to look at Harriet Selby and Hitchcock Tulare as the 2 favorites. Sully Buttes and Corsica Stickney, they just played here on Friday night, and Sully Buttes picking up that win by, I think, 2 touchdowns it was. And so we could see that again in the quarterfinals. That'll be an interesting matchup should that happen again. And I think, Hitchcock Tulare has that advantage on the other side of the bracket. I think DeSmet was a team that made the 9A semifinals last year, lost some talent. Now they're at the 6th seed entering the playoffs. I think they've got a chance to maybe make it back to the semifinals in 9B. Kadoka area was in the semis 2 years ago. So these teams have some experience there. Del Rapids St. Mary, they're going to be those road warriors again. They're the 10 seed right now, and they got to go to Faith. And we saw that a couple of years ago. They had to go to Faith and play out there. And so we'll see what their injury status looks like. I know they had to play a lot of young kids this year, but defending 9B champs, they've been to the Dakota Dome the last 2 years. We'll see if they can make a run. They'd have to play Hitchcock Tulare most likely in the 2nd round. So we'll see how that plays out. But it definitely looks like Hitchcock Tulare and Harriet Selby are on the path to the Dakota Dome. And, Hitchcock Tulare hasn't been there in a while. Harriet Selby's kind of the team. They've been the team to beat the last few years in 9A, 9B. But those schools have just always chased that state championship. Harriet has never won a state championship. Selby hasn't. They've been runners up several times, whether it was Harriet Pollock back in the day or Selby on their own back in 2004, or Harriet Selby the last few years. So those schools have that monkey that they have yet to get off their back.
Absolutely. And just kind of piggybacking off of what you guys said, Avon and Fulton, like you talked about, Heath, a couple teams last year where they were in the semifinals and they were a couple of things go differently. They easily could have played in the 9B state championship. So absolutely, that's an intriguing matchup. And, we wrote about it just today, Jacob. Del Rapids St. Mary's going out to Faith. It's nothing new for those guys to make the long trip out west. Like you mentioned, they played at Faith. And then they played at Dakota area here a couple years ago, I believe it was, on the road to the Dome. So I just wouldn't count out Del Rapids St. Mary's. They've been there, they've done that. So bottom half of the bracket, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think at the end of the day, we're on course for a Harriet Hitchcock matchup, which would be pretty fun. All right, 9A. I think this one we can maybe throw some names in a hat and maybe just grab a couple and see what comes out. And I don't think we'd be surprised. 9A is going to be a lot of fun. At the top, you got to talk with about Warner. Certainly they could have a tough second round matchup, whoever they were to possibly face. And Gregory's always is Gregory. Castlewood took a tough loss to end the season, so that kind of dropped them down a little bit in the standings. But they're as tough as anybody in this class. And then there's Lyman at 7-1 with their only loss to a tough Wall team. So 9A, a lot of contenders. Heath, what are you looking for in 9A?
Yeah, I hate to just kind of be that repeating record, but I do feel a lot like you do, Ryan. I mean, just looking at the bracket, you look at 9B and you can even advance up to AA, AAA. There's always those kind of like one or two teams that you go, oh, okay, yeah, they're probably going to make it unless barring some big upset or miracle. But yeah, I'm trying to break this down. Of course, I like Warner. I like what they put together. But yeah, you talk about, and I love them from this kind of area of Alcester, Hudson. They've had a phenomenal season so far, but you want to bet against Canastota. Yeah, granted, they're 4-4 this season, grabbing that 9 seed, but we've seen them, of course, a couple of years ago when they were teamed up with Freeman going on to win a state title, even the run they made last year. So, I mean, you look at a Canastota team and say, you betcha, they can go get an upset right away in that second round. But of course, they have to get by Alcester, Hudson. And you just kind of look down and I love the west side of the state, but Lyman is going to have that tough run in with you think Castlewood is going to advance on. You even talk about Gregory, as you mentioned. They've been a phenomenal team the past few years. I don't think that when it comes to this is a 1-2 are going to make it to the state. I mean, just trying to break it down. I don't even know if I could give you that top half, who I think is going to come out of there. I mean, taking the easy guess with Warner doesn't feel right to me. And even on that bottom half, if I really had to pick somebody, man, my gut is actually telling me Gregory. But if Gregory does it, they're going to need some maybe upsets or help along the way. I feel like, A is really up for grabs and just not going to be easy for some teams in the first round. And then after that, once you get to the quarterfinals and semifinals, this thing is wide open. And I don't think it's going to be just a basic 1-2.
Absolutely. Jacob, you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this, you look at 9B, we just talked about, there were kind of a 2-horse race. 9AA, we're going to talk about in a few minutes. That's just loaded. There's several teams that you could pick that could pull upsets and make the Dome there. And 9A to me just sits right in the middle of that. 9AA is loaded. 9B's got kind of a 2-horse race, and 9A, you just don't know who could get in. It's again, kind of like what Heath said, even Warner at the 1 seed, they're the lone unbeaten, but do you really think that they're going to be just the odds on favorite to get in there? I'm not sure. Canastota, like we said, they've been kind of the team to beat the last few years. And even last year, they kind of had to struggle to get into the playoffs, but made that run. Kind of feels the same way this year. They've dealt with some injuries, but they've had some young kids step up and make plays for them. And so you got to look at Canastota there. Again, I think Gregory, I've liked Gregory all year. I think this Gregory team's a very good football team, not far off from being undefeated, just a close 7-point loss to Parkston a few weeks ago. But Gregory, just their defense is tough. They've got a lot of young athletes on that team. I've liked Gregory all year. And Lyman, they've kind of got that trio, that quarterback, running back, wide receiver trio that has just been almost unstoppable this year. Wall's about the only team that was able to shut them down, and that was their only loss, obviously. But and then you look at, Harding County and Phillip. Those teams, they played well all year. Some people are going to question their schedules, probably. How tough of a schedule have they played? And I know there's been people that have said, maybe the winner of that Warner Canastota matchup, should that happen in the quarterfinals, do they have that inside track of the state championship game too? And this is just really up in the air. And then you never know with like a Woolsey, Wessington, or a Castlewood. Those teams have athletes. They're always tough competitors, and you never know if they go in and pull off an upset or two to make the championship either. So really hard to pick a 9A. Like you said, Ryan, from the start, this is kind of one of those where you could pull two teams out of a hat and you'd probably be okay with it, and be, okay, we'll play those teams for the championship. So really hard to choose a 9A championship there. That's going to be fun to watch. It's different than what 9AA looks like with some of the title contenders there that we'll talk about in a minute, but it's kind of fun in a way too, because you don't know who could make it. And that's kind of what makes it intriguing there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll just add, you think you kind of look ahead at potential matchups. Gregory and Woolsey Wessington, if they were to win in the first round, they would play in the quarterfinals. Obviously, they're in the same conference. They play every year. This year, Gregory got them 60-34. It's fun to think about if they play again, if it would be another high scoring game like that, or would it be like a traditional playoff game where it's kind of in the 20s? You just don't know, especially what the weather could bring, in South Dakota, in late October. So it's kind of fun to think about some of those matchups when you look at the bracket. So absolutely, 9A is one I'm looking forward to, because there's just really, to me, it feels like there's no clear-cut favorite, and anything can happen in that one. 9AA, to me, this is the class, I don't know why, I'm just kind of probably the most excited about. I just think a lot of contenders, coming into the season. That was kind of what we were talking about. You factor in just with the shuffling of the realignments, just how teams dropped up or went down and moved up or whatever. That just loaded up 9AA as far as I'm concerned, with Wall, a team that's been just knocking on the door the last several years, haven't made the Dome, some tough semifinal losses. So they're to the number 1 seed, but I don't think that guarantees those guys anything, because if they were to get past Stanley County in the first round, then they could play Bonhomme or Ipswich in the second round. And then you go down the bracket a little bit, and we could have Hamlin and Hanson potentially facing in the second round. But Hanson's got to get past Platt, and Hamlin's got to get past Viber Curley. So there's just a lot of matchups that could happen, but these teams got to get past their first round opponents. So Heath, what do you see in 9AA, I guess?
Yeah, one of the big things I look at when I look at this bracket, this is certainly one that I would go as far as saying that, to be honest with you, 1 and 2, eliminate them now from even making it to the championship game. I love Elkton Lake Benton. I love Wall, the programs they have built, but it just doesn't really feel right to me to have those two teams to make it all the way to the championship. And one thing that when you get into a bracket like this and how loaded it is, the one thing I ultimately come back to is I don't care if you play on the east side of the state, you play on the west side of the state. The main thing I look at is how did your opponents do? What was their end records? And that's what I really find is kind of the eye candy. What really draws my attention, how much did you have that tough schedule? And that's where I'm quickly drawn to a Hamlin or a Hanson. As you mentioned, those teams could meet up really, really quickly here in the bracket. And after that, whoever wins that, I feel like they could see each other. They could easily go all the way and play for a championship game. I mean, you even look at just the top 8 teams alone. You have Bonhomme, the Cavaliers, who actually had the toughest opponent schedule when it finally broke down at the end of the season. And that's why they're in there at 8. You have Marion Freeman Academy that is kind of together for the first time this year, what they have been able to do. Of course, we know how Freeman has done in the past with, of course, other co-ops along the past few years. Even Parkston, has gotten beat just once so far this season. I just don't really feel comfortable with saying, Wall, Elkton Lake Benton could make it easily to the championship game. There are going to be upsets. They're going to be really that top half of the bracket. I think who can ever make it out of there alive is going to be so battle tested. And if they can, of course, stay healthy, then I think that is going to be the winner. The question is, I really don't know who I like to take from that top half of the bracket because, Hamlin, Viborg, Hurley, we've seen what Viborg, Hurley has done with the past few years. They just got a great coaching staff around them, got a lot of great players, even Platt Geddes. It's such a toss up. It's going to come somewhere in that top half of the bracket. The question is, though, who? And honestly, I don't have a straight answer for you.
Heath, Jacob, you're taking the same route.
Yeah, this class is going to be fun. I mean, there are several title contenders like we talked about, and Wall and Howard were semifinalists last year in 9A. Howard won the 9A title, and both those teams move up to 9AA. And even if you take those two teams out of the mix, this class was still pretty stout. There were a lot of contenders without Wall and Howard, but now you add those two in there, and it got the party growing a little bit, I think, and so I think Wall definitely has proven that they're a tough team to beat. You go out west and play them, and they got the turf field, and that just adds to their speed. They're always very athletic and fast out there. But boy, that Bonham Ipswich matchup, that should be a good one, I think, to start the playoffs. Bonham has played that tough schedule, like you said, Heath. They have really played a tough schedule down the stretch here, and have lost their last couple of games, but to Parkston and Gregory, two really good football teams. So Ipswich, they like to throw the ball quite a bit, so that should be interesting how that matchup plays out. And like you said, Heath, Platt Geddes and Viborg Hurley, they've had success the past few years. Platt Geddes has struggled this year at times on both sides of the ball. They've really struggled at times to put points on the board, and they've also struggled to stop teams from putting points on the board, but they're back in the playoffs. We saw what they've done the last couple of years. They have the experience. And Hanson, this is a team too that they lost to Howard first game of the year, and they spotted Howard 20 points in the first quarter. It was 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. And really, since that first quarter, Hanson has played really solid defense. They have not given up very many points since then. And I think they're just playing really good football right now, despite being the 5 seed. Elton Lake Benton has looked really good all year. They've played a pretty good schedule there. And Howard and Parkston, I think if those two teams meet up in the quarterfinals, that should be a dog fight. Those are two teams that made deep runs last year. Parkston losing in the semifinals in 9AA, and like I said before, Howard winning the 9A title. So those are two teams that I think if they would meet, they're very similar in styles. They like to run that double wing offense and just ground and pound and throw off play action. I think that would be a really, really good quarterfinal matchup, and either one of those teams could make a run as well. And I just think this class, like you said, Heath, I think whoever gets to the championship game in this class is going to be battle tested, and they're going to earn the state title.
Absolutely. And then I'll just kind of add, you think about last year, the 9AA from the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and then the final round all the way up to the championship. You look back at those games and they were just coming down to the wire. It was a touchdown here or there late, one possession kind of a games. So when I just think about 9AA, I just think we're going to have a lot of those kind of similar games from the first round. We might as well, I don't know, but definitely from that quarterfinal round on, I think we're going to have a lot of close games and some one possession right down to the wire kind of games. So it's definitely fun to think about what we got in store in 9AA. 11B, imagine that winners right there at the top of the bracket to number one, and have beaten a few of these teams in 11B throughout the year. I guess, I don't know, it's probably safe to say that everybody's kind of maybe playing for second in 11B. The bottom of the bracket, I think will be fun when you think about some potential matchups if top seeds were kind of to keep winning a semifinal matchup between Aberdeen Roncalli and Elk Point Jefferson would be fun, with a team from the south and a team from the north facing each other. Heath, what are you looking for in 11B?
Yeah, go with the obvious here. And just watching him so far, I've gotten a couple different opportunities. And someone asked me recently, how does Winter just keep doing what they're doing? And it's because they built a culture there. everybody wants to be on the football team. Like if you're a young kid, that's all you want to do when you grow up is be a winter warrior. And that is why they just continue to turn out the great athletes that they do. And as you mentioned as well, Ryan, this was a team that has already faced several of these teams. Yeah, I like McCook Central Montrose. I like Mount Vernon. They're great teams, but let's be honest with you. It's going to be winner in that going all the way in that top half of the bracket. After that, Oak Point Jefferson, I've gotten my opportunity to see them as well, what they put together. For me, it seems like it's very, very obvious. It's going to be a matchup of winner and Oak Point Jefferson. To be frankly honest with you, I know everyone wants to see this semifinal matchup of Aberdeen Roncalli and Elk Point Jefferson. Guys, it's not going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. I like Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan. They have fallen lately to some tough teams. They're going to bounce back. You look at who they played so far this season. You look at Aberdeen Roncalli's schedule. Nothing against Aberdeen Roncalli, but they don't even make it to the semifinals.
Jacob, what do you see in 11B?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously winner is that team to beat. They've won 31 straight games. And if they don't lose that championship game 3 years ago, they went over 40 some games in a row, so that they've just been on a roll the last few years and just nobody's been able to beat them. And so I think they're the team to beat. I think kind of like what Heath said, Mount Vernon Plankinton and McCook Central Montrose, two really good football teams. I mean, two teams that are, Mount Vernon just lost a winner on Friday. McCook Central's only losses to Elk Point Jefferson. So two really good teams that maybe if they were on the other side of the bracket, maybe have a shot at the state championship game. But I think that could be a really good quarterfinal matchup should those teams meet. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, I think, Elk Point Jefferson, the turnaround that they've had over this year and last year, it really kind of started last year and it kind of opened some people's eyes, making the semifinals and losing to winner a year ago. And they've just built off of that. This senior class is just really, really good, really talented group of kids, not only on the football field, several good wrestlers as well. So Elk Point Jefferson, I definitely think the team to beat on that side of the bracket. Aberdeen Roncalli, like you said, Heath, they've had a good year. I question their schedule a little bit. I just don't know that they've played the competition like Elk Point Jefferson has, or like a Bridgewater Emory Ethan. But I do agree. I think Bridgewater Emory Ethan, I think they get by Hot Springs, and I do think they beat Roncalli. Bridgewater Emory Ethan, you got to remember, despite being 5-3, they have a chance to go to their sixth straight 11B championship game, and they've only won one title in those 5 previous appearances. But they just last year they were in this same spot. They were 5-3, and they made the run and pulled off some upsets. So I think Bridgewater Emory Ethan, I know they've dealt with some injuries here this year, but if they can get healthy and make that run again, I think Bridgewater Emory Ethan and Elk Point Jefferson for the semifinals, and a good Mount Vernon Plankinton team or McCook Central Montrose team against winner. I think you have some potential for some good matchups there. Absolutely.
And then first round matchup, we kind of talked about McCook Central Montrose and Sioux Valley. Before we move on, I'll just I think that has the potential to be a fun first round matchup. It was 18-14 when they played during the regular season, and came right down to the wire. Touchdown in the third quarter, kind of won it there for who won that one, Jacob?
I believe that was McCook Central Montrose. Yeah.
18-14. So I think hopefully we get kind of a similar game there in the first round. All right, maybe just one quick bold prediction, or one maybe something you guys feel strongly about is going to happen here in the playoffs. I can start. I think, and here's my bold prediction. I think in 9B, I think Hitchcock Tulare will win 9B. I know a lot of teams have kind of circled Harriet Selby area for that one, but if I were to stand on a soapbox, make a bold prediction, I would say that Hitchcock Tulare will win 9B. Jacob, what do you got for a bold prediction?
There's a few of them I've thought about, and I kind of mentioned one there with Bridgewater. I think they have a chance to make the semis. Canastota and 9A, I think they do have the potential to make a run, and we kind of talked about those. But I think my bold prediction is in 9AA. I think Hanson makes a run at the state championship game. I don't know that they win it, but I think they make the state championship game. The two teams I've kind of been looking at there all year have really been Howard and Hanson, and those teams played in the first match of the year. It'd be fun to see them play at the end. I think Hanson has that potential. I talked about it earlier. They haven't allowed a lot of points since then, and their offense has been playing really well. So they've really relied heavily on that defense, and it'd be a tough go to try to beat Platt. And of course, Platt, Geddes, and Hanson have played now for the 4th straight year. This will be in the playoffs, and Platt, Geddes has won the last 3 meetings. So we know Hanson wants revenge there, and then they have to go on the road to Hamlin potentially, and then maybe potentially Wall. So it's not an easy road for Hanson, but I think the way they've played this year since the first quarter of that Howard game, the opening week of the year, I think Hanson has looked a lot better, a lot stronger as the year has gone on. And so I do think Hanson would be my bold prediction to make the state championship.
Heath?
As much as I love 9A, as much as I love Warner, I love Canastota just as much. In fact, I'll go all the way for you with the bracket. I think it's going to be Canastota, Gregory playing for a championship. I really think Gregory is a great team. I love Lyman as well, but I'm just not high on them. I think Gregory is going to walk away with 9A.
All right. Well, there's our bold predictions. 9AA, it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. Running out of time here. Looks like we got a little bit under 4 minutes to go. Maybe just a quick thoughts on maybe some of the bigger classes. 11A, I know we got one more week of the regular season, but 11A, probably Del Rapids, West Central, Beersford, kind of the top teams in the mix there.
I think I'll just give you the bold prediction once again here. I'll go straight to it. I do not feel confident with Beersford would be the only one, and I'm not even high on them. I think they've got some great coaching staff behind them, but I'm still like, I'm a little hesitant with Beersford yet. I really think you have to go back to the COVID year. You're going to see some team that barely makes the postseason in Class A, and is that team that all of a sudden everything breaks right for them in this last game. Next thing you know, they're playing for a state title. I do not feel good about West Central. Del Rapids has been phenomenal, but I saw them play against Lennox when Lennox was, didn't seem like they were going to be in it a few years ago and got upset in the first round. 6, 7, or 8 in Class A, there's going to be a winner in those 3 teams.
You too, Jacob?
Yeah, I would agree there too, Heath. I think you look at the 11A playoffs, we've seen chaos in this class through the years, where teams have been upset and make a run at the state championship. And I think, your Del Rapids, your Beersford, they've looked maybe the best, but you can't be for certain there either. And I still go back to Canton. I voted them number 1 to begin the year, and I voted them number 1 for a few weeks until they kind of started losing some games. But right now they're sitting at that 6th seed, but that's a football team that they have tradition. They've got some good athletes there. Again, some good, kind of like Oak Point Jefferson, some good wrestlers there that also play football. And I just think you could see a team like a Canton, who right now is the 6th seed, make a push for the state championship game. We saw that last year with Millbank, who was the 7th seed and ended up making a run at the state championship game. They lost to Madison, but a team like Canton, I think, is still on my radar despite having 4 losses.
Absolutely. All right, we got about a minute and a half here. I don't know if we'll probably get to talk fully about 11 AA.
It's Jefferson and Pierre, right? I mean, is there any question there? I mean, nothing against T, nothing against anyone else than AAA, but it just seems like it's Jefferson and Pierre.
I agree, and I think that'd be a good way to end it. I just think it will be in 11 AA. It'll be Pierre. Although that Pierre T, when they played, that was a 35-30 game. I kind of thought that would be a little bit more of a cushion for Pierre. So definitely, if they were to play again, that would be another fun one. And also, I'll just say about 11 AAA. It's probably looking like it would be a Jefferson Harrisburg maybe in the finals. That was kind of a blowout in the very first game of the season. Might be a little bit different second time around. All right. I think,
ditto.
Was that Jacob?
I said ditto.
Ditto.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll get this posted for the playoffs and everything. And thanks for watching. And maybe we'll be talking later on as the playoffs roll on and everything.